Yesterday, like in the past week, we have seen Netanyahu speak about Palestine as if there's no West Bank. They have an ongoing genocidal machine inside Jenin, Tul Karim, and also even in Christian Beit Lahem, they are like raiding people's homes with illegal settlements and always confiscating their. Today they just confiscated the tent of the protesters protesting in front of their homes after they've been taken by settlers in Beit Lahem. So that all being said, we're not even at a stage where we can consider them people or who have like any regard or respect to any kind of law, international law, human law, law of prisoners, Convention of Geneva. There's nothing that they respect. So it's only really frustrating at that point that even the whole world is even listening to what they're saying. These are people who have to be in jail, just to say the least. These are war criminals. This is the most documented genocide in the human history. And we're still here like sitting and discussing and negotiating. What does Benjamin Netanyahu want? Benjamin Netanyahu needs to be in a prison right now. And if it's not for the good of the Palestinians, it's for the good of the humanity. It's primarily for the good and the safety of the Jews and the Judaism and the future of this world. This is being done in the names of Jewish people, which is not the case. The first and foremost people who are suffering because of this genocide is Judaism and the Jewish people all around the world, because this is not going to end here. Blood does not end when you kill people, when you kill a girl rollerblading, for God's sake, in Gaza, and all the world sees it. When you kill doctors, when you rape prisoners, when you burn people in their tents, when you bomb hospitals and schools one time after the other. Nobody's going to disregard this. Nobody can lie anymore. They're trying to bluff. The media tries to bluff every day, but it's not controllable at that point. So what you said while asking the question, it is the latter. Yes, because there is this chaos around the world in the politics, and they would gain some time, and they would like for it to look like, okay, the Americans are doing the good job. But as they are trying so-called negotiations in Doha, they're just arming Israel and bluffing about it in the media and talking about the 6 Israeli hostages killed by Israel in the same day that more than 50 Palestinians are dying and being killed and massacred and raped. They're speaking about, I don't know how many hostages remain alive after Netanyahu killed them. They're speaking about this amount of humans when more than 7,000 Palestinians are detained without any reason. These are humans as well. So it's just outright frontline, very unapologetic racism at that point. And anybody who tries to say otherwise is also a racist. I'm so angry that I can't even talk about it anymore. How is it normal that it's almost a year into that genocide and people are still discussing it? How is it normal? How are we supposed to carry on our lives? And every day you talk to the media, you know the stories of these people, and we are just like in a relationship. Let's give this example. In some relationships, people make themselves smaller to be loved. We are at a stage in this 76-year worth of war where we have agreed that we are lesser humans. We are in the pattern. The way we report our news is like 200 Palestinians have been killed. 6 hostages with these names and family stories have been killed. We even do this. I just lost it. I don't want to be politically correct. No, every human matters. Alice in Beit Lahem matters. Yasmin, every single girl that is being killed, Maryam that is still surviving, and every day I check her father's Instagram to make sure that Maryam and her father and her brother are still alive and giving us that feed from Gaza. These people are not only equal. I'm done with being politically correct. We are more important. We are the indigenous people. These are the indigenous people. These are the Semites of the world. These are the people who are directly and genetically related to Jesus Christ. The ones that are being massacred by people coming from Poland and most recently from Brazil, from the United States of America. These people are invading Palestine, this holy land, and killing the indigenous people. And if you want to talk about racism, and if you want to talk about superiority and supremacy, I think people who have survived 76 years of all kinds of persecution. They are way more important than myself, George, and anybody who's been entitled and have dual passports and have been, spoiled all their lives. They are more important because they are stronger, because they have survived that, because our conscience is also complicit just because we didn't do anything to save them. So I think not only we shouldn't look at ourselves as smaller and subhumans. I think it is time to just say things as they are. We are more important. And even if they're killing us today, in the future, this is never gonna be like, there's never gonna be stepping over all that blood. It's never gonna work. And every day when you look at what's happening inside the streets of Tel Aviv, or what's happening inside the Knesset, or even on the military front, how they're fleeing or being or resigning or bullied outside of their positions because of their failures. And when you look at all these days of war and genocide, and you also look that there are still rockets coming out from Khan Yunis to Rafah, to Deir Balah, from northern Gaza as well, you can understand that first, Netanyahu did nothing. He succeeded in nothing. Two, these people were not defeated. And three, this will not end the war. This is just another round of Palestinian resistance. And on the long run, this is only going to lead to the liberation. First of all, I want to tell you on the day of Arba'in, when Lebanon retaliated, the day that 320 Katyusha drones, they call them Katyusha drones, like missiles, hit different bases, and when the Galilot base near Tel Aviv was hit by Hezbollah, and the way that this retaliation was orchestrated, where the Israelis said, that's it, we're not gonna carry on. The way that all this played out gave all of the Lebanese people a sense of, respectively, serene week. We are feeling way more secure after that retaliation. And it is also just the manifestation of why the Lebanese people do trust their resistance, because they lead this war pragmatically, taking into consideration what comes next with a lot of high intelligence. And with the leadership is very patient and strategic. And when we speak about the Hezbollah retaliation, in speaking about Iran, I'm just trying to say that this comes from a very similar school in military. And if Hezbollah is patient this much, Iran is patient this much. So Iran does not work on a clock. I suppose the Iranians think of the next day, and I suppose the Iranians know that the whole trick that Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to do is to escalate as much as possible, to drag on as much as possible the West and the Western hegemony against Iran, and to make it all sound like it is a Western war against the Islamists in the region, and maybe the world would forget his failure and his genocide. This would be a win situation for Netanyahu. So I suppose the Iranians do know how to measure their retaliation. It is impossible for them not to retaliate, not for anything, just because they are the Islamic Republic of Iran, and they have shown us since 1979 who they are in the region and how they act and how the retaliations are. Some of the analysts went on and started thinking that the lone wolf operations that are inside Palestine today, and I'm speaking inside Jerusalem today, that started all of a sudden or were resumed in the past weeks, they might be one shape or the other of what Iran would do. The ways that the Iranians would retaliate is not about ego. This is the difference. Benjamin Netanyahu is an empty war criminal with a very big ego in the last days of his political career. Iran is it's a republic, and they don't think about one person or their ego. They don't care if me and you are celebrating the retaliation. They care about the actual retaliation and the deterrence. And I suppose it's not about a clock. They do have a very big calculation. And when you look at the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is speaking about the possibilities of resuming nuclear talks or so on, you might think that the Iranians do not have a rush in what they take and how they take and how they retaliate. But I do trust the experience in analyzing and looking at them in the Middle East and looking at their struggle and their fight with the Israeli presence and the Israeli occupation of Palestine. And I think every day that they make the Israelis wait is a day gained for them, in a way. There's a narrative here that they say, and many of the people that we speak to that are like, resources around Hezbollah or the Islamic Republic of Iran's diplomats or presence in Lebanon, or the analysts or the press people that we meet and ask as journalists, they have this way of analyzing that I find a little bit logical. Every gained day is a win, because every day the Israelis are waiting for the attack, and every day there's more and more military problems, internal problems, Israeli problems, whether it's between the ministers or even on the military front. So this disturbance that they have caused is also one of the points that they consider wins. We spoke about the Iranian dictionary, and their meaning of deterrence and their meaning of retaliation is not also what we are used to from how the Americans or the Europeans work. And I tell you, in the Iranian dictionary, they don't care about the ego. They just care about what the Israelis are doing. And I think since the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh till date, if we just look at what's happening between Netanyahu and his other genocidal maniacs, I think the Iranians are way better than what's happening inside the streets of Tel Aviv now, or even in the military bases. So I think in one way or the other, Iran is getting there.